I wouldn't call myself a musician.
You wouldn't call yourself a musician?
I'm not making a living off of it, you know, and I feel like
yeah.
that's more of a profession.
Yeah, well, I guess there's professional musician.
Professional
but I would say
musician.
you're a
Okay.
professional musician.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay, cool. Wow, nice. I'm gonna start that with that spit.
I had to get rid of the gum.
And Nathan picking it up.
Nathan, oh, you fuck.
But
Listen, dude. That's fucking.
give us a
that's
couple
not
minutes to like get into it.
Yeah, let's
and
get
then
into
you
it.
can
Then it'll be funny.
You can guest spot. Okay.
I don't want an audience, guys.
We already had an audience and then we had to kick them out.
We literally have not even started.
Well, I might just have this a part of it. Yeah. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is the Scoped Exposure podcast. I'm super excited to be sitting down with Mitch from Low End in the back of their trailer right now.
North Face ad.
Yeah. Yeah. Free advertising for North Face. We're currently in Edmonton, Alberta, just outside the Buckingham. You guys are playing in a little bit here. So we're just doing a little podcast just before. So I gave a not full intro of who you are. So maybe for the 9 people who don't know who you are, just tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Mitch. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I play in a couple hardcore bands. The one that's playing tonight is Low End. Born and raised in Milwaukee. I guess that's pretty much it as far as an introduction, right? Or is there anything in specific you want to know?
No. No, that was great.
Cool. Awesome.
So normally with every guest, I'm usually asking their like hardcore origin story. I always find it really interesting on, just how our genre brings in people from punk, people from metal, people from all ranges of music. So tell me, was it one song that kind of like, peeled back the curtain and opened your eyes to hardcore, or how'd you get into it?
Well, basically I had started going to local shows when I was 12 years old. Like 2005 was when I was 12. Yeah, I went to like a local punk show actually. And a lot of the punks there, they were super into hardcore music, like Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front, like the ones that cross over.
Right.
So I was kind of introduced to that early on, but I didn't really gravitate towards it until later. But as far as that goes, I mean, fast forward to when I'm 19 years old, 18 years old, when actually Jimmy, I mean, he's here tonight. He sings in Low End, but
he might stop in later.
We'll touch on Cross Me and how that all started. But he kind of approached me to start a band because he knew that I liked punk music, and I had been going to punk shows and metalcore shows. So he thought that'd be a good fit since I already had kind of an idea. So that, like, cool. I can't say that I was born with a Madball record in my hands or like a Cro-Mags record in my hands.
Straight out of the womb.
You know what I mean? Like straight out of the womb.
Yeah. Normally it doesn't happen.
No. Yeah. But that's basically, I mean, we can kind of elaborate on that more.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's basically it as far as that goes.
Maybe we can talk about Cross Me, because we were saying just before we were recording how that was your kind of original hardcore band that at least got you into the scene and started playing shows.
Yeah.
So maybe tell me a little bit about how the band formed, what's your relationship with some of the guys.
So Jimmy and Jake were two friends. They used to go to like metalcore shows. I was in a metalcore band for a while. They kind of saw me play shows through that. And then I saw Jake at a party once, and he was wearing a Minor Threat shirt, and I was like, dude, I grew up listening to like 80s hardcore and like, all that kind of stuff. And a couple months passed by. Jimmy messaged me on Facebook, and he's like, hey, do you want to join a band that is going to tour? Or like, we want to tour. And I'm like, that's literally all I've wanted to do. Like, yes. So with that said, we've jammed. The vibe was great. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a hybrid between like, the metalcore stuff, the metal stuff that I was currently playing, and like the punk stuff that I grew up going to shows and listening to. Like, it was a perfect fit, and we vibed as people right away. You know, we're both jokesters. You know, it just worked out. So as far as that goes, as far as the start. So.
Yeah. And when did you guys like officially start as a band? I actually have it in my notes. You guys are 6 years old.
Yeah. I guess that's so weird to think about.
2013.
It's weird to think about. I remember the first practice we wrote the Cross Me intro. You know what I mean? Like that's like something that we've almost played at every show, and
right.
Usually pops off. I mean, depending on the show, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, we started in late 20. Like if you want to count the release of the demo as our start, it was March of 2013.
Yeah.
But we actually started jamming at, I would say, like maybe November of 2012. So it's just kind of like, I guess if you want to call that the start,
right?
That was it.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Yeah, so March of 2013 was like our first show. So
sweet, and then just in drums in general, like I went a ways back, and it seems like there's always been drumsticks in your hands, or you've always kind of been behind a kit.
Yeah.
And definitely just like skill wise, like you know, it's not something you've been doing for a couple of years now. Like you've definitely have your rudiments and all that kind of stuff down. So
sure.
Talk to me like how you got into drums just in general, and how hardcore drumming kind of like progressed into your style.
Sure. Basically, when I was 5 years old, my dad bought me a drum set, and I honestly don't remember the early years of playing. But then I was, you know, fast forward a couple years, I did a few drum clinics. I was for some reason excelling in playing drums, so I guess that was kind of like the start there. And it's kind of weird for me. I can't really remember before, like maybe like 12. Like when I was 12 years old, I started playing at local shows in punk bands, in like pop punk bands and power pop bands and stuff like that.
Power pop bands.
Yeah. Super into that stuff, like
cool.
the 70s punk and 82 punk and stuff like that.
Sweet.
UK punk. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It's such a long story. I feel like I could talk about this for hours, but
we actually can't, because you have to play in an hour or so.
Which is it's hard for me. Like right now, it's hard for me to like totally think about narrowing it down. I guess I started at 5 years old, did a few drum clinics. Fast forward to 12 years old, I started playing local shows. And then at 19, I started touring with Cross Me.
Right.
And that's like, there was like years in between when I was going to middle school and high school. I didn't always have time to practice.
Sure.
Before I started touring. So that was kind of the downfall for me. There was a few years where I never practiced at all. I went to school barely.
Yeah.
I didn't excel in school at all, but
yeah. But that's kind of interesting how like certain passions can just sit in your back pocket.
Exactly.
And then you're like, it was the same thing video like wise for me. I used to do like, originally got into like stop motion animation.
Sure.
And
it just
like,
builds off of itself essentially.
Yeah. And yeah, there was a point for me where I put it down and I got really into gaming, and then I got into playing music, and now it's like I'm doing video and music. So it's just funny how things kind of come full circle.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've heard from, I forgot what interview I was watching or even who it was, but they're like, I recommend to all musicians to take breaks.
Yeah.
If you just drive yourself into the ground practicing and worrying about music theory, you're just going to drive yourself insane.
Sure.
And that goes for like being in a band in general.
Mm-hmm.
If you drive, you'll just. What did he say?
I think he said, "Which one of you fuck Mitch's girlfriend?"
I don't have one.
I'm actually curious on how those.
That's a common misconception with people in bands. We don't
that
have
was Nathan from Stepping Stone. I'm sure he'll come ruin this interview earlier on. But that's fair, because I kind of messed up a Stepping Stone song last night, so that's payback. So I think that's a really interesting point, though. To be able to, we all find something that like puts us on fire and we're really passionate about. But just as humans, like, finding our own ways to have rest and, just breaks in general.
And for me, I picked up playing guitar. I dabble with trying to sing. Like, I think I sound good, but it could just be myself.
Can you give us a sample?
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Probably not.
I don't want to put you on the spot there.
Maybe if there was music playing.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Oasis. I know that's kind of like very popular in the hardcore and metalcore scene right now, but like I sing along to that all the time. It's pretty high register. I hit the notes every once in a while.
Wow.
I don't know.
Well,
Liam Gallagher's a really good vocalist.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to pass that up. But close.
So to kind of flow off of that, just talking about your practice schedule while you're on tour and when you're not on tour. I know when we were trying to line up this podcast, you wanted to give yourself a little bit of time, if any, to warm up and get the blood flowing. But what are the rules that you've set for yourself?
I try to not eat within. It's usually about an hour. Like it's not really like I'm not super strict about it. Like I need to be done eating within 4 hours of playing.
Yeah, it's not like swimming.
Basically, I don't want to eat like an In-N-Out 4x4 before I play.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll, lightly eat and then basically just do like little tiny cardio and stretching routines, like just anything that you would do in like a gym class or like,
sure.
I used to work at
or just like your fingers or your wrists.
Everything. I just kind of, I shake it out. Do like rudiments on a pad. Like I don't know theory, so I just kind of guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I just kind of do what I've seen on videos and just patterns in songs that I like. Or the one thing that I actually have been doing for the longest time is I will always start warming up the band before.
Oh, okay.
And while they're playing, whatever tempo that they're playing at, I will match.
Oh,
so
okay.
no matter what part of the song, no matter how like frantic it is that it changes, it's just weird. I don't know. That's something that I've always done, and it really helps. Like, is because you're changing it up, and you're not sticking to just one thing.
Right.
No,
that's interesting.
And there's no, like I said, there's nothing set in stone. Like,
sure, yeah, and that's interesting because normally, and I've been guilty of this myself. Like you're watching a band you like, and doing the air drums along to it.
Yep,
but for you, it's like I'm actually prepping for my set just after you. That's the difference.
Exactly.
That's cool. How has your kit evolved over the drumming years? Have you minimized cymbals, added stuff, raised heights of toms?
That's an interesting question.
Have you ever done the Travis Barker setup?
I never had my cymbals that flat. He kind of introduced that to people, and a lot of people broke their cymbals.
Yeah, that's
and
Zildjian was like really. There was just lots of warranty stuff.
A lot of warranties, being fulfilled. But I never really had it like that. I've always generally had like a 4-piece. I've been pondering an idea if I ever played bigger venues and I had space for it in a trailer, and it just adding like another rack tom or another floor tom, just like kind of just like doing little tiny auxiliary or adding auxiliary things to it just to kind of make it more interesting. Because I don't know, I guess as of recently I added a crash on the right side and a china. So like when Cross Me first started, I had just one crash, one ride, hi-hat. That was it.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
But I just essentially got bored with it. A lot of people will say less is more, but I don't know. I can go both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when Cross Me first started too, I only had a single pedal, and now I use a double pedal. So, and I've pondered the idea of adding another crash next to my hi-hat.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's weird, but just something to make it more interesting and more lively for me.
Yeah, and it is so different, like for certain certain drummers. I know my friend Jack. He used to play in a band called Wasted Breath. He actually only has one arm.
Oh,
so
damn.
he just has his left arm. So all his cymbals are over here. But like that band was playing blast beats, and he's like going like this.
Holy shit!
He's actually
That's
like
awesome.
One of the most insane people I've ever met in my life.
That's inspiring.
So speaking of other drummers, I know at LDB you guys played this past year, and Stepping Stone also played, and you guys are touring together. I saw you were sharing a couple Instagram stories of Ross, who's their drummer.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So I was curious if you wanted to, shout out any unheard drummers that need a little bit more love.
Definitely Pedro from the band Lurk. They're a Chicago punk band, essentially. Him and I grew up playing shows together. I mean, like within my like high school years, I guess. Him, Josh from Momentum and Vamakara. He's like a newer friend of mine and just an incredible drummer. Like he just has that flow, the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't mess up. Like it's just incredible to see. And then I guess as of recently, Trey Garris. Like he's the progression that he has had at such a young age is just insane to me. Like I remember him messaging me and asking what he should get, what kind of pedal he should get and all that.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to see him play in a band. Like I think he did like a song with Karma, the band from Chicago.
Yeah.
And he absolutely killed it. And that video was shared a ton, and I was really happy for him. So I think he's one of the most underrated drummers as of right now.
Yeah.
And he's not even in a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it Brian Garris's little brother from Knocked Loose?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like...
How many brothers does Brian have? Because he has
a
brother
two other brothers
that did vocals on one of their songs.
Yeah,
and
Dallas. Yeah.
Just like a household of musicians.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. That's kind of how it is for me, too. Like, my brother plays drums and bass. My dad plays guitar. That's the reason why I started playing drums. That's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Basically, my dad played guitar growing up. Always wanted to play drums, but he bought a drum set for me when I was 5, and we basically played classic rock songs and blues songs. And that's kind of why I'm like super into that stuff now.
Yeah.
It never went away. Like I have a special place for that. But
yeah.
And that's kind of like what helps with my originality, because I don't just listen to hardcore music. I don't just listen to metal music. You know, I have a very diverse range and eclectic music taste, and I'm not trying to like boast by saying that, but I just want to give you like more of an insight as to
absolutely.
You know, why I play the way I do, and I guess write the way I do.
Yeah. And I'm very curious. Like, I haven't talked really with other people or other drummers in that realm where they say, I listen to punk music and that influences my country drumming, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Like,
yeah, that's true.
You can listen to, I mean, there's, we always joke around about a CCR song that has like the first breakdown in it. And we kind of want to rip off the transition.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's stupid, but
yeah.
I just think it's funny how you can kind of gather that inspiration from.
But it is cool to be able to see like bands and drummers who are like super jazz oriented, and they're you know, just handwork is just insane, or they come from a metal background and it's just like all like it sounds like a metronome at times.
And a lot of that stuff for me, as far as like, you know, I was always super into playing like ghost notes and very like funky rhythms, and that comes from listening to like, you know, progressive metal. I know that was really popular and like pretty recently, I guess, like Meshuggah and you know, Gojira and stuff.
Sweet.
Like the drummer of Gojira is nuts.
Oh, insane.
Like whether or not you like that style of music or you're too cool for it, like just listen to the music and listen. If you're a drummer, just listen to Mario from Gojira.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh, we have a guest on the podcast.
I thought he was gonna run over the cable.
No, it's fine. I actually that just reminded me. I was doing a past job I had a phone that was doing a time lapse, and it was through a convention center, and it was just like this truck coming by, and it like literally like you can see the tire so close to the camera.
My god.
So I was like, oh, my
expensive
phone.
equipment.
yeah, but yeah, we were just rolling with this outside podcast. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
So kind of like not an unsaid thing, but something that I've heard and kind of believe myself for a lot of bands is that drummers can almost make or break a band sometimes. Sure. So what are, you know, some of the things, you know, if someone's a brand new drummer, what's a piece of advice that you would give to, you know, either put yourself out there? Do you need to be super fancy? Do you just need to kind of stick to the beat? Because it's super dependent on the music.
It is super dependent on the music. If you have a very intricate song, you'll want the drums to follow.
Sure.
If you have a very bare bones caveman style song, like you'll want the caveman style drumming. To kind of touch on like whether or not a drummer makes or breaks a band, I think that you don't have to be a good drummer. You don't have to know how to play crazy beats. You just have to not, like for me, if I see a drummer that's trying to do more than he can handle, and not dialing back and like thinking less is more in the moment, I think that'll increase your confidence as
Sure.
far as, as far as like the part in a song. Like you don't need to do fills throughout, a short segment. Just keep it going. Stay in the pocket. That was the biggest thing growing up. I was never good at staying in the pocket ever. And you can even hear it on like earlier Cross Me stuff. Like I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Like I didn't need to be like that, but I was like
Can you just break
trying
that
to
down?
be tastefully flashy, I guess. I don't know.
Can you just break down that term, like stay in the pocket, just in case someone's like super unfamiliar?
Basically, just the heartbeat of the band, the backbone of the band. I know that's really cliche if you're a drummer and you're watching this, but
most
like,
cliche things are true.
It's just less is more. You're following the beat as simple as possible. Sometimes not even hitting any other cymbal. Like for me with Low End, the newest band that I'm in right now, like there's one of our songs where I could have, during like the versey part, I guess if you want to call it that, like I could have hit the cymbal halfway through. You know what I mean? Like,
sure, yeah.
You'd almost have to like hear it, but I stayed on the hi-hat the whole time. And I know that sounds weird, but I thought that was cool that I kind of dialed it back in my head. I was like, you know what? Someone on the outside is going to listen to this, and they're not really totally going to care about that cymbal hit. They just want to hear the song or the lyrics.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not going to be dissecting the drums.
Yeah. And you might need to help me with his name, but drummer of Turnstile.
Oh, yeah, Daniel Fang.
Yeah, Daniel. I showed that band to a friend of mine, like not into hardcore at all. Like he's a folk artist.
Yeah.
And just to show him like the grooviness of the band, and he immediately
feel,
was like,
man.
that drummer is not doing anything to like give himself a little bit of flex. It's purely for the music. And
which
totally agree.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Which like he has more than enough capability to be flashy and to play something crazy. And I can just see it. Like I just can see how he drums, but he absolutely plays in the pocket, and I honestly look up to the way that he writes as far as hardcore music goes and punk music goes. Like
Right.
he just doesn't do anything. I mean, when he does something wild, it doesn't really jump out totally. Like it just kind of sounds like it should be in the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds very cohesive. There's nothing crazy about it. He's not doing stick flips and all that shit like live. Like he's just grooving. Tons of energy. And the other thing too is like, I meant to say this earlier, but if you're in a band, focus on playing harder or more accurate, I should say.
Sure.
Focus on, and like that'll come with not trying to do more than you can handle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you do less, you're gonna hit harder. You're gonna be more confident in what you're
Right.
playing, and that way, your band won't sound very messy. You know what I mean?
Because how you were explaining that, like having too much to handle is almost like you're at the grocery mart and everything's like falling on top of you and you're trying to hold all this stuff.
Yeah.
Versus like
you know what you want.
Yeah, the
you know?
song. If we're using that analogy, because I fucking love analogies, and running off of them, but if the song is a recipe, then you're just picking the ingredients that what works for the song. Man, that's good.
The backbone.
What? Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, we're just gonna adjust some things on the fly. Yeah, we're just rolling with it. Jordan on the AV.
The darker the better.
The
You
darker
need
the
to look
better.
at me.
Yeah. ISO. We might keep this in. I don't know. I like shit.
You
like
could
this.
always. Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah. So here's a good question. What would you say the biggest difference musically between Cross Me and Low End is?
Well, Jimmy and I have been writing hardcore and I guess metal music together for since the inception of Cross Me, I guess. So I guess the skeleton is always the same. The formula, I guess, is generally the same. Just because we work so well together, I guess.
Yeah.
I would say Cross Me was our creative band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were always trying to one up the next thing. We were always trying to do something crazier, or more crazy, I should say. With Low End, I guess it's more vocal driven, and that's why I said I kind of dialed back a little bit with our writing. Like,
Right.
I wanted it to be easy to understand. I wanted it to be energetic. And not that Cross Me wasn't, but sometimes like the crossover style, thrashy style goes over people's heads. You know what I mean? And with Low End, it's a little bit more.
It still
moshy,
has,
I guess, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
It has the mid tempo stuff, the really fast, energetic stuff, and the parts hit you a lot, more effectively because it's not like you don't know what's happening in the song. It's just very easy to understand.
Right.
Not caveman. Like, we're still creative.
Yeah.
But
there's some
just to keep it,
some
less
recognizable,
is more.
like, yeah.
Recognizable. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's really the main difference. Like, Cross Me was like, just make it as crazy as possible. Like, we're a band's band. Like, we don't care. Like, we don't necessarily care, and not that I care about being popular or huge or making money or living off of this. Like, if that's what's in the back of your mind, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. I know that's another cliche as far as being a hardcore band, but like, if that's like in the back of your mind the whole time, obviously when you're getting older, you wish that you could at least sustain a living,
For sure.
not be a rock star, not like have millions of dollars, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the main difference, really.
Cool.
Easier to understand.
And there's lots of great bands to come out of that like Midwest area.
Sure.
And you guys definitely, like, the Midwest as a whole, you guys have LDB, you have a couple
that's
other
very,
fests.
very important.
Yeah.
Like,
What's your like maybe talk about like how your scene has like really thrived through like good and bad times, and how people have kind of come together and overcome a lot of like just obstacles. Yeah.
I mean, the Milwaukee scene in specific, or I guess the scene in the Midwest. I mean, I don't really know. I haven't been around as far as hardcore music goes. I haven't been around that long, so I don't know necessarily how this happens, but I know that it does ebb and flow. Like, I know that the scene is booming. It can be nuts, and then in the next, give it like 2 or 3 years, then it's nothing. But I feel like as far as like with Cross Me and Low End and Infamy and Slow Panic, and I mean I just named 3 bands I'm in, but and Adam is in Infamy, he plays bass in Low End. Just bands like that are current, I guess, that people still kind of, still are into. It keeps our scene alive, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's bands all over the Midwest in each state. I could name tons. I could spend a long time on that, and elaborate. But Iowa, Minnesota, like Michigan, Illinois, like and I guess like in the Louisville area, I consider that. I mean, they're Midwest. You can't say otherwise.
Yeah.
Even like geographically, like I know people will probably like give them shit for that, but they claim the Midwest, and I think that's awesome. Like, they're really important. That scene is amazing, just eclectic. Everyone is their own person. They're not trying to look cool. They're just trying to introduce people to a subculture, a place that they can go to, and that's like how I feel the Midwest is. Like, it's always like the underdogs, the people that have to work the hardest. The bands that have to work the hardest, the promoters that have to work the hardest to bring kids out. We're less fortunate geographically, you know what I mean? Like, everything is so spaced out.
Yeah. But that, like...
But I guess overall, like, all in all, the scene is awesome.
Yeah.
And there's tons of bands. And if anyone says that the scene is dead, like, they are delusional.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they're talking about, and they're just jaded and sitting at home and wishing that it could be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or not even giving it a chance anymore.
Yeah. Like, I think
I hate to sound like a dickhead when I say that, but
no, but like,
it's just something that I have to get off my chest.
No, yeah, for sure. Because like there's too many times where it's just like, the naysayers and those people that are have an opinion online, especially, and then you never see them at a hardcore show,
absolutely.
Or like they'll show up for one band and then leave.
Yeah,
like it's you're either contributing to your scene or you're not.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, you should never take this. I was kind of cutting out.
You're
Sorry. You should never take like any of those websites like Lamb Goat, any of that seriously. You know what I mean? Those are exactly what you're talking about. People sitting at home that don't go to shows anymore. Sometimes it's your friends. You
Right.
can tell that it's your friends because they know a little bit too much about you. But like a lot of people just get so caught up in that stuff. It's like, don't ever let any of those comments get to you. Half the time, it's not even true. It's just someone like you're talking about. They're sitting at home. They don't go to shows anymore. They don't do anything to contribute. Just wanting to hear their own voice. That's it. Like, they're so bored that they want to hear their own voice.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. Hey, there's a comedian. His name is Chris D'Elia, and he's infamous for, going into his DMs, like, 'cause he's a famous comedian, so he'll just get like, man, your show in Texas sucked, and it's just like he'll go into their account and then just like see a little bit about them. It's like, dude, all you post is like pictures of cars. Are you a car? Like, so it's
funny.
Crazy.
So there's changeover and then one more band does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sick.
yeah, we're just wrapping up. Jim, do you want to jump in?
Hey, Jim, come here. Jambo.
Maybe.
Is he still there?
He's over by the car now.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's too bad.
Damn.
We'll have to
that
get
would've
him
been
next
a good
time.
cameo.
Cameo.
I don't know if that's the right
Easter egg.
Easter egg. The vocalist.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So one thing that I'm doing to kind of wrap up all of these podcasts is ending on just something very hardcore related. So, can you tell me your favorite mosh story, whether it's yourself or it doesn't have to be your band, just whatever is the most crazy or most hardcore experience or thing that you've seen?
I mean, can I talk about? I don't want to touch on that.
Well,
it's kind of embarrassing for me because I'm not a mosher
oh,
by any means.
well, I saw you moshing yesterday.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, some bands get me hyped, but like I've always looked stupid. But sometimes when you're it's energetic. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's my point is proven right there. You write energetic music. You write music that you can feel something to. People all around will feel it. And if people are, if you
100%.
get, like, as a vocalist, if you get someone involved, if you kind of almost call them out, like, the energy is there and the music will speak for itself too. And especially for me being a musician, like, or, someone who plays music. I wouldn't call myself a musician.
You wouldn't call yourself a musician?
I'm not making a living off of it, and I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
that's more of a profession.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's professional musician.
Professional
but I would say
musician.
you're a
Okay.
professional musician.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Professional
Thank you.
musician. Put a little graphic right there.
But
Is there a specific story
a
that
specific
came to
story.
mind?
Man, I'm trying to think.
You
of,
said
like,
you're like, I don't want to shit.
oh, basically, like,
We can cut it out if you really don't want to
no,
shit.
it's all right. Basically, like, the first time I had ever seen, sorry, cut out again. First time I saw No Warning was like their first Canada appearance at
Oh, okay.
Heartfest.
Yeah.
And that is like legitimately one of my favorite hardcore bands. I think that are doing it amazing, and they did it amazing, like, on point. But I just remember moshing to like my favorite song and getting hit in the eye, and I had never been hit before like that. Like,
Mhm.
I was always pretty good at, like, pretty agile, like getting out of certain situations.
Dodging or at least.
But I got
making-
hit. I got hit in the eyeball, and like, my vision was distorted. Like, I didn't get knocked out, but I was just like, I had like crazy anxiety about it, and I thought I was like permanently damaged from it and all that. And that was like one of my most embarrassing stories. But the pit itself was so much fun
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I guess it wasn't crazy, but it kind of ruined the moment for me, because I was like, I'm seeing like one of my favorite hardcore bands, and I can't even enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like, since then I've seen them a few times, so it's
Yeah.
like it made up for it. I guess that's not really like the craziest story, but
But-
that's like the only thing I can really think of
no, I think that's good.
as far as me being involved. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
yeah.
Like, not a mosher.
Yeah. But we did a podcast with Gabe. So as far as like when this is released, whether yours is first or his is first, but
Sure.
he was saying
Gabe.
Gabe the pigeon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck
He's
that
like-
guy. No, I'm just kidding.
He's like-
he takes the best pictures in hardcore music right now, and I guess as far as live music goes too, you know.
Yeah, that was a big reason why we wanted to bring him on. But
Sweetheart.
he was talking about, like, I asked him, like, if, like, I noticed sometimes you're like there's like a song that you're like, okay, I gotta drop my camera and do something. And he's
Exactly.
like, yeah, man, it's
he
just
does
like,
that. I saw him do it yesterday.
Yeah.
Like the parts that like, you know, everyone's into, I guess. Like he just will set his camera down and just hit the pit. It's
yeah.
awesome.
But he was saying it's like sometimes you just get wrapped up in the moment and
Oh,
that
it's
energy,
amazing.
and it's just like you can't not. Because I've done it myself, and it's a little bit different, and I'm trying to figure out the solution for doing video and
Yeah.
still capturing the set, but still like, oh, I have to mosh for this part.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Eric from Louisville, he moshes with his camera.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you know who he is. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like expensive gear. It's like if someone
And
was
that guy
moshing.
throws down.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes off.
I met him.
Another very talented.
Oh,
photographer.
super talented.
Like
Shout out to Eric.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's your shout out.
Yeah, that's my shout out. Yeah, actually, I met him. He came through with the Acacia strain to Calgary,
Yeah,
and
another sweetheart, man.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, he was throwing down. I was like, man. And he also dresses really nice.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a good style.
Yeah, good style.
He stands out.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, before we officially end the podcast, do you want to plug your band, your drumming stuff, if you have any of that?
Man, I wish I
Or just how people
thought
can
about this
follow up with you?
more. I don't know. I should speak for myself, but try to stay off the internet as much as possible because you can get really wrapped up in all the bullshit.
Sure.
I've been trying to stay off of it as much as possible because I don't want it to ruin such a good thing.
Yeah.
I think hardcore and punk and metal, it's such a beautiful thing. Another cliche of me to say, but like I feel like you can keep that fire alive if you just try to avoid all the bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Try to avoid, you know, starting problems and smoothing over any problems that you have because that can kill something very nice.
Yeah.
Kills bands. It kills, you know, people's lives essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, you know, directly involved with something that happened, but I don't want to talk about it. But it's just one of those things that, because of the internet and because of everything else and because of poor decisions, it creates animosity and things that shouldn't happen. I think it kills the hardcore scene, and it kills people's like. I don't know. I think I'm rambling at this point, but
Yeah. No, that's
with that
fine.
said, I that's another thing where I could just keep talking about it forever. But
Yeah. Well,
we
maybe we'll
kinda
have
have
to
to
do a
wrap it up,
second
but-
episode in the future.
yeah, something. We'll have
Um,
to talk about it more. I'll have to prepare for that one because that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But
How can people follow you or Low End? Do you guys have anything coming up?
yeah, I mean, I guess you can keep up on our social media. It's all Low End MKE, like at Low End MKE, and MKE stands for Milwaukee.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's
That
just an
makes sense now.
abbreviation for we didn't do the HC or hardcore or anything
Yeah.
or band or USA.
That's way cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something different. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that and then everything for me. Oh God, I hate saying this. It's Mitch on drums. I haven't changed it. I made that when I was super young, but it works.
It's stuck. Yeah.
But
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up the podcast. Thanks so much for
Cool.
being on it, Mitch. And
thank you too.
best of luck with your set in a little bit.
Right on.
Sweet.
Cheers.